I have personally never encountered anything negative participating in a
Beautiful.
Padna. But like all things, it's a small percentage of people who may have experienced, had a negative experience. And that's why trust is so important. So you can't just say you're starting a ROSCA or a Padna or a Susu and just pick anybody off the street or random people that you don't know. Because it's trust, you have to know and trust these people. This is money. After all, we are talking about money. Now, one way to safeguard and prevent anything untoward's happening is anybody new who's joining the group always gets the last hand. You
gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it. You're new to the group. We need to make sure that we can trust you.
Welcome to a brand new episode of our Community Financial Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Justina Kanza, and in each episode, we bring in exciting individuals to share personal stories of how they're using community economic development services like rotating savings circles, credit unions, and community bonds to bridge the gap that's left by traditional financial institutions. And in today's episode, I have a very exciting individual, Andria Barrett, who is a founding member of the Banker Ladies Council and is the director of the Rotating Savings and Credit Union Association Network, a Canadian organization that is created to advocate, educate, and support rotating savings and credit association users and their work. So Andria grew up in Jamaica, where you call rotating savings circles Padna. I grew up in Zambia, and we call it Chilimba. And I know some of my friends call it Chama in Kenya as well. And Andria, you're also an entrepreneur and community researcher, and your work focuses on helping women entrepreneurs through mutual aid. And you have been prestigiously named by Canadian SME as the most inspiring, one of the most inspiring women entrepreneurs and business leaders in 2 years in a row, and also named in 2022 by the Rodman family as an entrepreneur of the year. That is very exciting, and I'm so glad to have you here. I can't wait to hear more about you, Andria.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I love the introduction. There's so much synergy between what we do and Woveo. Words I heard like underbanked and underserved and bridging the gap and economic solidarity. We have lots in common. We'll have a great chat.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm ready to get right into it, starting from the top with the Banker Ladies Circle. How did they start? What was the inspiration? What has the journey been since? And for those who don't even know, what is the Banker Ladies Council?
Okay, great place to start. So the Banker Ladies Council, we're a group of 10 women who came together under the encouragement and direction of a fantastic professor at the U of T. Her name is Dr. Shenaz Hossein. She has been studying ROSCAs. So whenever I say ROSCAs, most people get a glazed look and have no idea what we're speaking about. But ROSCA, ROSCA, Rotating Savings Credit Association. So Dr. Hossein has been having these conversations and meetings with women across Canada and really across the world individually. And she brought a group of us together at her home. There was a group of 10. And this is when I had a chance to see other women who did what my family did in their home countries, and they called it something different. So there I am in a room with 9 other women from Kenya who call what we call in Jamaica a Padna. She called it a chama. Women from Somalia who call it a hug bud. Women from Trinidad who call it a susu. So it was really great to be in this space with 9 other women who do exactly what you've seen your family do, and they call it something else. So after some time, we decided that we would call ourselves the Banker Ladies Council. And it's great. It's a group of women from different cultures, different backgrounds, different age ranges. We speak different languages. We have different faiths. We have we have many things in common. But one of the things we have in common is the way we save money, this informal type of banking. It's the gift and the legacy that our foreparents passed down to us. And this is one way that we save money.
And one way that we bring legacy and culture to the Canadian financial landscape as well.
Exactly.
Right? That is very beautiful. And I love Dr. Caroline. She's going to be one of our guests
We
soon.
love her too.
I have a question for those that don't know what ROSCAs are and how they function. Could you please elaborate for them?
Sure. So the R in ROSCA stands for rotating. Growing up at home, coming from a Caribbean Jamaican family, I watched my mom and my aunt and my grandmother participate in, what we call a Padna, which other people call a money circle, which the academics call a ROSCA, but really it's pooling funds. And the goal is mutual aid to support each other. It's a form of savings and a form of credit. So for example, let's say you're in a Padna, you're in a money circle or a pool, and there are 8 of you. Or let's say there's 10 of you, and 9 of your closest friends, people that you trust, and you all have the same common goal, a financial goal. All 10 of you will pool your funds together. So let's say every week, everyone puts $100 into what we'll call the pot. So every Friday at 6 o'clock, everyone is dropping off $100 at my house. Let's say I'm the banker. The person who collects all the funds is the banker or the banker lady. On the Saturday, the banker lady will give those funds to whoever is in turn to receive the money. So it's cyclical. So every week, every week, all 10 members contribute $100. That's $1,000. Then someone takes that $1,000 for that week to go do what they need to do. The following week, everyone continues to put in another $100, and then somebody else gets a turn to take the pot, $1,000. This goes on all the way until the 10th week, where everyone has put in money and then everyone has had a chance to access their pot of $1,000. So it's a forced way of savings. It's a way to delay any gratification or help you save up for whatever big expense or small expense that you're saving up for. And it's also a way that the group supports you in terms of credit. So it's a form of mutual aid. It's everyone working together. It's a collective way of supporting each other. It really is a co-op. It's a cooperative style of informal banking. It's at the intersection of finances and culture. So this is how grandma used to save money, or this is how great grandma used to save money. So think back to, everyone's home country. This is a style of savings that when we immigrated to Canada or North America, you brought this way of saving with you. It's working together as a group. It's collaborative. It's cooperative. It's a form of mutual aid. And it allows people to save money and pool money together to better themselves.
And it is a form of community, right?
Absolutely.
It's a form of community and collectivism. And I'm reminded of the African concept of Ubuntu, which is I am because you are. And you see this at play so much in programs like this. But I think 2 things actually that stood out from what you've shared. One is the trust-based factor, right? You have to trust the other ladies that you're in circle with and trust that they will make the payments as planned. And because it is credit, it comes with a lot of credibility. And I grew up on a system like this. I know my mom participated in a lot of this to buy furniture, to buy groceries. My sisters and I still do this. And so my question is, what are some misconceptions that people have? Because it is a trust-based system, and as human nature may have it, sometimes people default. So what are some horror stories and misconceptions that you've seen from doing this growing up, or maybe even in your Banker Ladies Council?
I want to knock on something. I'm going to
knock on wood.
I have personally never encountered anything negative participating in a Padna, and in my family, never heard anything negative. But like all things, it's a small percentage of people who may have experienced, had a negative experience. And that's why trust is so important. So you can't just say you're starting a ROSCA or a Padna or a Susu and just pick anybody off the street or random people that you don't know. Because it's trust, you have to know and trust these people. This is money. After all, we are talking about money. And the way you join a ROSCA or Padna is you are invited in. You can't just decide I can't just decide I'm joining your Padna. You have to invite me in, or more importantly, the banker lady has to invite me in. You have to make sure if you bring somebody new to the group that you trust them with your money. Now, one way to safeguard and prevent any thing untoward's happening is anybody new who's joining the group always gets the last hand. So in the example I gave you, there's 10 of us and we all put our $100 in. If we are bringing in a new person, that person is going to get the very last hand. So there's no risk of default because the money that they are collecting is exactly the money that they've put in. So over time, and people who want the first draw, you have some seniority, or you're beloved and respected, or perhaps an elder. The first hand, everyone wants that. Sometimes the banker lady gets that for herself, or people who have built up enough goodwill within the group get that. But new people will never get the first hand. You're going to get the last hand. You've got to, you got to earn it. You got to earn it. You're new to the group. We need to make sure that you're, we can trust you. And on top of that, ROSCAs aren't just about like the financial transaction and saving up money and pooling funds and being able to do that. It's also about the social connection. So think back to when grandma or great grandma did this. People would go to her home, they come into her yard and they give her the money. They're sitting down, they're having tea, they're having soup, they're eating, they're breaking bread, they're connecting. They're building that relationship. When you have a relationship with people, that's where trust and community comes and it is built. So back in the day, it was done face to face, eyeball to eyeball. Nowadays, amazing apps and technology that allows us to continue doing this work, and you're connecting either online or virtually, just differently. But trust is paramount.
It is absolutely paramount. And I've heard stories similar to what you shared where there's a seniority level on who gets the first pick. Yeah. But I've also heard lotteries, right? Yes. Where people just select randomly. Yes. And if I'm the first person and I don't need the money urgently, I can actually switch spots with someone or auction my spot for like $50. You get my payout spot. I've heard that, especially in East Africa. But that is very interesting. But you make an exciting point around how it's being done today in a way that's digitized. And it's allowing us to do it innovatively and bring it to the Canadian financial landscape, right? But also do it at scale, at larger scale, because with our traditional susus or partners, as you call them, you can only do it with so many people because it's very in person and quite intimate. And so one of the things that Woveo is doing, as you know, is Woveo is now the banker lady, if you will, where we collect the money on behalf of everyone else, right? And then distribute and then eliminate the risk factor through our default protector. And if someone defaults, Woveo steps in and covers for them. But how does that land on you in terms of the innovation aspect of it, but also the connection to, is it still fulfilling the essence of community and the Ubuntu and the sitting down with grandma and having tea if it's digitized?
I love what Woveo is doing, and it just makes sense. It's I feel like the people now in 2024 and beyond, it's where our culture and tradition meet fintech. The grandchildren of grandkids have watched their parents and their grandparents do this Padna Susu Ayutu thing. And now it's fintech. So they have come up with a way to make this easier. So grandma could still be back home, wherever home is. Their daughter could be in a province in Canada. The grandchild could be someplace in the US. They can, all three of them, participate in a Padna or Ayutu online digitally through apps, and everything is digitized and using an app. So it only makes sense that this tradition evolve as well. And now there are no borders. You can do this regardless of where you are, and accepting your funds and making sure that it gets dispersed. I think it's great, and it just makes sense. And what I like is it's a forced way of savings. Studies show that we don't save any money. We are very bad savers. We pay a lot of interest. Credit, it can be an issue for some people. This is a way that is removing a barrier to helping people learn to save money. Absolutely. Pooling your funds together. We talk about our community, especially when we work together and collaborate together. It's like one powerful fist when we come along. Imagine you have a large group. Everyone puts in $25, $50, $100. Pooling those funds collectively, imagine the things you can do for yourself. Or if you continue to partner and pool your funds together as community, what can't we do? We can own buildings, we can own complexes and start incredible enterprises to support each other and just be successful.
Absolutely. That's the community economic development piece of it. And we see VC firms doing it, right? They collect money from, angel investors and syndicates and invest in businesses. And we can do this for ourselves. But you mentioned something that I found very interesting is it's a way to pass on culture, even in a world that's quote unquote modern and digitized. It's a way to continue that very spiritual, if you ask me, part of our culture that's very based on community. Right. But what are some of the success stories you've heard, especially from the Banker Ladies Council here in Canada, the 10 ladies that you bank with?
Great stories from our group. The Banker Ladies, we all use it differently. So I've heard stories of people who use the money to start businesses. Yes. So they're in a group, regardless of the size, when they get their hand, their draw, or the pot, they can take that money and they can go buy inventory. They can go put down on a down payment on property. They can invest, use it for operating costs in their business. I know others who've used the funds to send their kids to school, post-secondary education. Tuition's expensive. Higher education is so important, but is expensive. Let's be honest. If you plan it right and you throw your hand early and you get your draw and you time things well, that's tuition for your child going to school. I know people have used Chama or Padna to buy a car. And I like this example. So a young lady, early 20s, who wanted to buy a vehicle. She participated in she would call it a hug bud. This is from Somalia. So they would put money together. She got her draw. She received her money. She went and she bought a used car. Compared to her peers, she paid outright for her car. Her peers may have to finance that vehicle, may have to delay purchasing that vehicle, or may not be able to purchase a vehicle at all. She now has a car. She didn't pay any interest, and she did it saving money, her own money, but collectively as a group. So I really like that example, because if we're talking about interest, she's not paying any interest. She's keeping more of her money. And she still did
finance the car. She financed it with the money collected, but there's no interest on it.
Right, exactly. It's like, our parents back in the day used to do layaway. It's her own money. She's not paying any interest. She's doing it on her own timetable. So people have bought homes. I know people who saved up money for a down payment, or people who have accelerated their mortgage payments. And again, I like anytime you can avoid the amount of interest you're paying or credit you need to take from elsewhere, you're winning, because more of that money is in your pocket and you're doing it on your own, but with the support of the cooperative through mutual aid.
Absolutely. And I think there's an accountability piece that you mentioned too, right? Whereas with the payday loans or traditional loans, you get it. And yes, you're accountable to pay back to them. But when life happens, sometimes you decide not to pay it because you don't even know whose money you borrowed. It's an institution. Whereas if it's in a community, you know that the next person's payout, maybe it's a car payment or a mortgage payment, is dependent on you making that contribution. And you know the faces of the people who you're accountable to. So it really helps with that piece as well.
And like you said, life happens, unfortunately, so death happens as well.
Yes.
So there have also been stories where banker ladies, there've been a death in the family and they have had to go fly back home, or if they're burying their dead here. And because they're in a ROSCA, let's say they get their draw in December, but right now they need to attend to funeral needs for their family member. Because they're in a ROSCA and they know the other people in this group, they can negotiate. So I really need to go back home and bury so-and-so. Can you switch hands with me? I'm supposed to get my hand in November. I really need it now in June. And because you know each other, you've connected, you've broken bread together, you've had tea together, you're in the same group, you will then be able to negotiate, you know what, take my spot. I will switch hands with you. You take this money now and go do what you have to do.
So you see community in action as well.
That's right.
That is beautiful.
So right now, if people who are not in a ROSCA, if they were in this situation, something urgent comes up, a funeral, a financial crisis, a tragedy, you cannot walk into your financial institution and say, hi, I need to go and bury my grandfather. can you advance me XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know you like that.
No,
but you're
no.
in a ROSCA. Those women, and sometimes men, you're also welcome to participate in ROSCAs, but majority it's women. Those women, they know you. They know you. Sister, we have you. Switch hands with me. I will take it later. Go and do what you have to do.
What you have to
Babies are born. Babies get sick.
Life happens.
Kids have post-secondary. You know, if you're in the sandwich generation, you're taking care of your parents, your aging parents, health conditions, layoffs, deaths. Life happens. When you're in a group of people that you trust and that trust you, and you have a lot in common. You are doing this way of savings. You come from a same cultural background, or at least you have this in common. Then you're okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that even when we're innovating at Woveo, we account for, right? Like when life happens and someone's payout is in December, what happens then? Because like you mentioned, you can't go into a bank and say, hey, I need a loan. And even if they were to give you the loan, they're like, well, we're not going to give it to you today. It's a week processing and, you know, however long.
And you know what you're paying with that loan? Interest,
right. A lot of interest too, right? So they it's very predatorial in a sense, right? Predatorial based on your desperation because of the situation that you're in. And so one of the things that we have actually at Woveo is a cash advance feature, where if my payout is in December, I can borrow from my future payout, again, still interest free, and I'm able to take care of my emergency now. And this is handy for if, again, when life happens maybe to everyone at the same time and you're not able to switch spots because everyone desperately needs the funding, then you can get cash advance from your future payout. So I like the innovation that brings to the table as well. Yeah. Okay. So my next question then is around, I know we touched lightly on misconceptions, but I want to touch more on that and the discrimination and the challenges that especially Banker Ladies Council has faced, whether that's from, you know, state authorities or commercial banks. Has there been any situation where there's maybe conflict or discrimination on an institutional level there?
Yes. So we've heard some stories. So ROSCAs is a new term. So like I mentioned, I didn't know what the term ROSCA was. Padna, I know. Susu, I know. But I didn't know non-Jamaicans did this. I thought this was a Jamaican thing. But now understanding and meeting the other banker ladies, that predominantly women around the world, Caribbean, on the continent, in Mexico, and Portugal, in China and India. This is common. You know, women have been doing this. We do what we need to do to support ourselves and our family. There have been some misconceptions. So I'd say most of the population does not know what a ROSCA is. That's the first thing. Yeah. And if you were to mention that to anybody in a financial institution, they are more than likely unaware. They don't know what you're speaking of. ROSCA really is an academic term. And when you go into the bank and you're telling the teller, you know, I want to deposit my Padna hand or my Susu, or they are looking at you like you're speaking a foreign language because it is foreign to them. They are not aware of this concept, this way of informal banking. Two things come up. When you go into the bank, so let's say I'm the banker lady and I'm collecting $9,000 every week or every month, depending on the number of people in our group or what's being deposited. When I go into the bank on a regular basis, depositing, you know, a large sum of money, it triggers things and there are flags being raised. And because this is something that Canadian financial institutions are unfamiliar with, you then look suspicious. Yes. So then, you know, we're living in a post 9/11 world. There are new laws and FinTrack and rules and regulations where you're going to get questioned. Where did you get this money from? And I'm happy to say it's my Padna draw. The teller doesn't understand what a Padna draw is or what a Susu hand is. So then you're raising questions. You're looking. I don't want to say you're looking suspicious, but they're not familiar with this. So in their eyes, you're looking suspicious. So as a group, the banker ladies, we decided that we wanted to create an organization that would help women that when they're going into financial institutions or dealing with law enforcement or any organization, that we wanted to help them. So break down that barrier to present and explain to Canadian society what exactly a ROSCA is and what it is we're doing in this informal way of banking and what this cooperative is. That will help break down some barriers and remove some of the misconceptions. ROSCAs are perfectly legal and fine, and you should be able to deposit and withdraw your funds at ease.
As you please, absolutely. And you mentioned that this is an informal financial model, right?
Yes.
So how do we make it play nice with the formal economy and the formal financial model? Do you see a world where banks and credit unions and ROSCA circles like yours kind of collaborate and play nice?
I do. I think we can play nice.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the country. We are a country full of immigrants.
Yes.
This is what we did back home. This is the tradition we're bringing here. This is how we save money.
Mm-hmm.
So we just need to break down that barrier and do our part in educating. There are financial institutions that are beginning to warm up to the idea and are at least listening. They want to learn more about what it is that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
how we are saving money, and they want to alleviate any issues when we're going into their financial institutions. I want to mention Meridian, for example.
Yes.
Meridian Credit Union. They're a financial institution that is listening. So we, as Banker Ladies and the ROSCA Network, we are working with Meridian. They are inviting us in for conversations.
Beautiful.
They want to know what is it that you ladies are doing, and how does it work, and how can we make this easier for women when they're coming in to deposit their funds or withdrawing their funds. How can we make this easier for you? So imagine you come to this country, you've been doing this your way back home. You're here now. What do you do with this money? Sometimes it's sitting in an account when it could be in a TFSA, or it could be in an RRSP, or it could be in a mutual fund or some sort of investment. So we want to help bridge the gap and connect or remove any sticking points from the from the commercial financial world to the informal way
world
of banking.
So because I did note that you mentioned education as a huge part of what the ROSCA network does.
Yes.
So what you're doing then is educating women to say, okay, you've gotten your payout. What do you do with this money? The financial education, teaching them about TFSAs, teaching them about investment vehicles, whether that's through the said services or formal financial services. So that's the education piece of it.
Yes. So we want to educate on both sides. So educate ROSCA users on what they can do or different options, and educate the financial institution and law enforcement on what it is a ROSCA is and what these women are doing. So as the ROSCA network, we want to educate, we want to advocate in the instance or case where there's a misunderstanding, and we want to create membership right across the country. BC, Halifax, Nova Scotia, the territories, Ontario. There are women participating in these groups, and they think they're the only ones doing it. We want them to know their sisters are across the country are doing this, and we want to advocate for them if they run into any issues with law enforcement who don't understand. So think back to like grandma. Grandma wouldn't necessarily take the draw and deposit it in the bank. Grandma might have the money stashed in a cookie jar.
Or just right under her mattress.
Maybe. So imagine, for whatever reason, your house is, police come into your home for whatever reason, and they see this money and they confiscate this money. You're going to tell the staff sergeant that, oh, it's my Padna draw. It's my susu. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that is, and you can't necessarily. You can try to show a trail of it, but they don't understand that you collected $100 from 9 other women who come from your neighborhood, or you go to church with, or you work with, because you're in a Padna and you're saving up to buy a house. They don't understand that. So we want to help anybody who needs help. We want to educate, we want to advocate, and we want to create membership about what ROSCAs are about.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how do people join your ROSCA network?
We would love people to reach out and help us grow the group and do some more advocacy and education. They can find us online at our website, and they can also send us an email. I also want to mention another organization that has been supporting us. It's the Ontario Cooperative Association. ROSCAs are a co-op, so it makes sense that we are welcomed into the co-op space. And the incredible team with Jennifer as the executive director has supported us, has extended her hand out to us to help us navigate the nonprofit space. So it's it's having great allies. It's having other organizations in the cooperative space see us and recognize what we do. So the Ontario Cooperative Association and Meridian is also a credit union, which is a cooperative. Like attracts like.
Yes.
They see us, they recognize what we're doing, and they're working with us. So we're grateful to Meridian, and we're grateful to the Ontario Cooperative Association.
That's beautiful. And that's so much validation and even adds credibility to the work that we already know is credible, but in our effort to spread awareness on it, being associated with organizations like Meridian.
Yes. You know what? We need people to open doors for us.
Yes.
And I'm grateful when people open doors. ROSCAs is foreign to people. They don't know what that is. But when we fall under a cooperative and other cooperatives who don't necessarily look like us or practice this, recognize the work that we're doing and validate us in that respect. When they open the door, we then get to walk in. So we're really grateful for the opportunity.
I really appreciate sponsorship in any form that it comes.
Me too.
Okay, so I have one last question as we're wrapping up. Advice for newcomers or otherwise folks who want to start their own banker ladies councils and their own social circles. What structural pieces should they be considering? What advice do you have for them?
My first piece of advice is if they did this back home and it worked well, don't think you need to abandon that style of informal banking once you come here. If it worked for you and you were able to save money and progress, continue doing that. Once you're here, find people who are already doing it or start your own and reach out to people who you know and trust who want to help you. ROSCAs help you save money. They help you save money and they help with connection. We want to make sure, especially as a new immigrant, you find people that you can connect with. Nobody wants to be new in this country all alone. Connect with people. And if this is something you have in common, you're already miles ahead. Okay. And then I would also suggest reaching out to us at the ROSCA network. We love meeting new people. We love hearing your stories, and anything we can help you to get more acclimatized to the country and in the way of banking, we absolutely want to help.
I love it. Do you ever pair folks with members within the network, like some sort of peer matching?
No, we don't. And it's because it's a trust thing. ROSCAs are about trust. So if we just meet, I can take you out for coffee, but I can't say you'll be joining the Padna
community.
But over time, relationship and connecting. But we encourage people, if they have their own groups or they had groups back home, and if you're using a platform like Woveo, if you were doing this back home, you can still continue to do this
it on the
with
platform.
People.
Yes, and you can actually find communities to join on Woveo. And one of the things that we're doing actually in our product team is hoping to launch this in a couple of weeks is a bot system, because sometimes you want to continue this, but like you mentioned, it's a trust-based system and you don't have that community built yet. So while you're building the community, if you still want to save and do the credit thing, you're able to do it on Woveo with quote unquote a bot on the app. Except it's not a bot, it is us in the background. It is the Woveo team in the background. So we save with you, you set all the rules on the schedule, the amount, and we're able to partner with you. So that kind of again is bridging the gap between how it's done and how it could potentially be done going forward.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's important to save money. We must save money. We're very poor at saving money. Yes. Any way that we can save it and collectively just gets you so much further. Everything we do as a group just gets you so much further. But so my advice to all Canadians, save your money. Save your money. Save your money.
Save your money. And on that note, we will wrap it up. Thank you so much, Andria, for coming here and for sharing so much knowledge. I personally will be reaching out to join the ROSCA network.
Great.
Because I love doing it and I'm trying to get all my friends on board. But thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us today. And I know folks are going to have so many questions for you. So I'll make sure the email address for the network and the websites are linked so that folks can reach out to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Amazing.